Hi there, welcome to the Lovefly Fear of Flying Q&A. My name's Paul Tizard. I'm one of the people at Lovefly, one of the admins who is here to run today's live stream. It's a little bit early, just a few minutes early, so I hope you'll forgive me, but it is recorded, so hopefully you can just watch anything that you miss. And yes, so first things first, thank you for the questions and really pleased to see all those questions coming through. Fantastic, that's great. It wouldn't be much of a Q&A if there wasn't any Qs. So thank you for those. Now, I also want to say before we get into those that there's something really cool I wanted to note. And I don't know if you've noticed this, but we've just turned 4,000 members now. So it says on the membership group, on the Lovefly membership group, we've got 4,000. The Lovefly Help Instagram is just coming up to 2,000. So that's fantastic to see that. And the YouTube subscribers, which is Lovefly Team, is also expanding too. So it's brilliant to see it. And we're getting more bookings coming through for our Manchester course on the 13th of April. So there's only, there's only a handful of places left now, which is fantastic, which we want to see. So keep coming. We want to run a small but full course. That'll be our goal. And then we can evaluate whether we can expand the numbers, whether we can run them at other places as well. There will be an update about that because we've got a meeting about some other locations this week. So some of the Lovefly team. So, and also there's been a real uptick in the 30-day program downloads as well. So thank you. At any time, we normally have about 8 to 10 graduates going through it. But I just looked on today, we've got 17 right now that are live. So it's a lovely number to see those sort of like trickling through. And I hope you're getting what you need from the program itself, which we are also, as I told you before, reevaluating and redeveloping. So we've recorded probably about 2/3 of the new version, and we're going to work on a different place that's going to be hosted when the new version comes out. But that's going to be a little way off yet, so don't worry. So a few questions in. But before I get into those, just want to say thank you very much for all that you do. For those who offer support to others, I see it in lots of different places. I see it in the comments of the YouTube channel, see it on the Podbean sometimes where our Lovefly podcast is released. And that's obviously, though, it goes on to Spotify and Google and Amazon, all those other great places. We also see it in the Podbean app. You can see the odd comment being posted there, and then all the things that people are saying in the Lovefly Facebook group. So thank you, and thank you. So questions. I'm just going to say hello to Pete Higgins. Pete always watches. All right, Pete. I don't know who else is watching because I can't see the Facebook at the moment, but I know that that's a given. And also John Bond. All right, mate. He's also watching. Okay, so Rachel says, have the rules and regulation changed in regards to allowing people in the cockpit? A lady posted on the Lovefly Facebook group this week, and she was invited in for the descent. I don't think this was allowed after 9/11 as one of the strict laws are in place. It's the same understanding that I have. I didn't see that post, so I'll have to look out for that. Now, when we used to run Flying Without Fear courses with flights, we would sometimes have, one of the team would go and sit in the flight deck for either takeoff or landing. And they weren't always crew. It could have been like one of the directors or one of the coaches, etc. But we had to have special permission for that. And obviously the captain and first officer can say no, clear off if they don't want to do it. But we got a special authority from flight ops to be able to do that. And then we could, under very strict conditions, one of us could sit for that landing, for example. So I find that really interesting that has come up. So I don't know. I'm not aware the rules have changed. Well, they haven't changed, but I know it is possible, I guess, with special permission that people could sit in there, but not some random person, Gone are those days, I'm afraid. Okay, so Georgie says, I have used Lovefly recommended techniques, such as looking out the window and focusing on the horizon and the glass of water trick to help with turbulence and anxiety on the last few flights. And it's really helped. Good. However, traveling on the Airbus A380 in March, what a fabulous aircraft. I love that one. So quiet, so smooth. and I'll be sat in the center row of the 3-4-3 seat formation. So not close to a window. Just wondering if there's anything else that you could recommend. Not able to make today's live. Okay, catch up so much. You're welcome. Well, those are the main techniques. So the balancing thing, the water trick works wherever you're sat. There is something I'll say about the A380 is that it is massive. You know, it is super, super large and smooth, like a massive ocean liner, this big fat sausage when it takes off into the air, you know. So it's just not like other smaller aircraft, you know. It's huge, it's graceful, it's very, very smooth. So I don't know whether you'll need to do that. And the reason I said that, I was sat upstairs in an aisle seat on the A380 when I flew out a couple of years ago. And I have to be honest, apart from the fact I knew we were moving along, I barely felt very much when we moved. And other people might have a different experiences, but it was so quiet and smooth, I didn't really notice anything happening. So I don't know if that's any help or not. And the other thing is that when you're looking, if you do have a flight map, then you can get a little bit of sense of what's going on around you in terms of where you are situationally in the sky. But the other thing is to think about, you know, you've got this huge thing, like a ship, you know, it's a firm surface. There's nothing to stop you get up, walking around, doing all that sort of stuff, just so you can sort of familiarize yourself and just realize that when you put your feet down, it's as firm as walking about anywhere else. You know, it's a super solid surface, and when you're walking about, it helps you to sort of just orientate yourself and get used to the whole sort of experience of being about. So they are massive, these, and you've got galley areas, you've got sort of door areas that you can stand near. So you know, I would encourage you to get up and walk about and just do things, normal things like you would do. You know, it's obviously going to be a long flight if you're on an A380. Is just make sure you structure the time. So like Pete Higgins says in his podcast episode, structure the time, you know, think of it in chunks so that you're not just like, it's not just endless nothing. Just get up, move about, work in 2-hour chunks, you know, film, food, walk about, read, do something, have a sleep maybe, who knows, whatever you're able to do. So that's what I would say. I'm not sure if that's much use, but that's what I've got, I'm afraid. Other people might put something else in here as well. Okay. Siobhan says, how bad does turbulence have to be for lives to be in danger or something to go drastically wrong? I think this is my main issue, and in part I hate the most when flying, so I'm trying to understand it more before flying from the UK to Florida in April. Okay, great question. So how bad does it have to be for something to go drastically wrong? I don't know what that means, because turbulence can't harm an aircraft. So I'm not quite sure what's behind that one. You can get hurt on an aircraft. You could get hurt with light turbulence. And the reason for that is if you're out walking about. And it's not the fact that it's particularly dangerous, because the crew will be walking around in light turbulence, but they're used to it. So if you're not used to it and it just wobbles just a couple of inches, then it's very easy to trip over or to become dislodged or something like that. Just think if you're going on a train, or even more movement, like a coach. If you walk down the aisle of a train or a coach when it's moving along, it's really like rock and roll. If that was on an aircraft, you'd have your seatbelts on. You wouldn't be allowed to get up and walk about. It's super, 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 super smooth. And severe turbulence, which is what is the one people often talk about, or I've had severe turbulence, is very, very, very rare. So if you've got your seatbelt on during the flight, I mean, I always say that anyway, unless you nip into the loo or something, you just keep your seatbelt on loosely on your lap, because then if you fall asleep, the crew don't need to wake you up when they do that check, when the seatbelt signs get put on. But it also gives you that sense of safety, because if you're strapped to the aircraft, you're moving with the aircraft, and the aircraft is super strong, well beyond what turbulence will throw at it. So I hope that answers your question. A lot of people worry about that one, so it's a good one. Okay, so let's get obviously to the big one, which people have been asking about today. So the Alaska Airlines incident, it's prompted lots of what if questions. This is from Geeta, said this, I'd love to hear your view on it. And then June has also asked the same thing. I want to ask about the Alaskan Airlines incident. What would have happened if it happened over water? The incident's really scared me. I don't know tons about it. I know it was at a certain height and the door's gone, and I know they've been grounded, and because they're ultra cautious. I think so. A bit of reality stuff. I also asked Captain Steve um, what he thought of that, because it's I just thought I could give a view on it, but I just thought I'd ask our lovely Captain Steve if he has some wisdom to share. So um, the first thing I want to say about it is that if something happened on you see this, when you see like major manufacturers, they'll say there's a problem with our car, this particular make of car, we're doing an urgent recall. But you could still drive around with it, couldn't you? You could. There's nothing like no one comes in then takes the car and says no, that car's stuck. That has to stay on the drive, or it'd have to be. That just doesn't happen, does it? You just get to drive it still. So you think you might get a note come through, or there might be something on the news, but you're not compelled, you're not ordered to not drive it. You're told to come bring it into your garage for such and such to be done because they found some sort of safety issue. Now, if you think the equivalent in aviation, as soon as anything untoward happens, they just go safety first. And so if I wasn't aware they'd grounded it until someone just told me this, but this is like the sensible thing to do. We don't know what happened there. This is really, 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 really rare. And, anyone with you've got your seatbelt on. This is a weird thing. It's happened I'm guessing it's happened at a certain altitude. So I'm assuming it's just after takeoff at 16,000 feet. So you're pressurizing still. The pressurizing starts pretty soon on the ground as you're going along and stuff. But this is a really unusual thing because they are plug type doors. This is one of the things that our cabin safety people always used to talk about, David Gott and Sarah Fowler. Just like these are plug type doors. So I'm really curious what happened with this door, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they find out, because that's the most sensible thing to do. We don't know, so let's just be extra careful about this and investigate it properly. So the great news is this will be properly investigated. Now, some of you might be having like some worries about this and thinking, crikey, what if I've been on that flight? Which is natural to do that, but we make these choices all the time, don't we? It's a risk assessment. So personally, would I get on that aircraft type again once they've cleared it? Yes, I would, because I trust the process. I trust commercial aviation. I know that it's not in anybody's interest to be running around with aircraft that people don't feel they're safe in. So this is a no-brainer for me. So I know that might not be, the perfect answer yet, but it's just like, who knows? I mean, let's just see what happens, what they find out. And that's the thing that we need to say. So Captain Steve just basically said, it's a difficult one to know what's happened here. Okay, fair enough. Like always, preventative measures now in place. So they ground the worldwide fleet in order to inspect them. So had it been at 39,000 feet, yes, it would have been a lot more noise. It would have been the pressurization would have been greater than it was at the height it was at, probably. But what we now know is that if the door's blown at this height, why on earth just that door and no other doors? These are all sort of like really valid questions. And the reality is, this is what the commercial aviation is all about. It's like, let's investigate it. Let's work out what on earth has gone wrong with this situation. It's never one thing. It's always a bunch of things. And so as they start to investigate, they'll find out, and it'll be sorted out, and it'll be sorted out worldwide. Because when it comes to things like this, it's nothing about airline competition. So we might compete for customers, but we don't compete for safety. It's about sharing the knowledge, making sure that everybody knows this. And if there's something that could have been done, it'll be sorted out. And that's why I love commercial aviation, because of all these safety measures that are in place. So I'm hoping that was useful. That's all I've got on that one. So I haven't had any other questions come through, but I will just have a quick check, because sometimes there's some come in later, and then I get, I'd call politely a bollock and say, you didn't answer my question. And, I have the tone in voice. They probably didn't put the tone in there, but I'm reading the tone. So let's have a look. No, so just want to say who we got. Oh, right. Okay. Hi, Melissa. Hi, Jamie. I can see you're watching. I can't see who else is. Oh, and Christopher as well. Hello, mate. And Christine is there. Christine, your podcast episode will be out soon. Um, there might be some others there as well. Oh, got a few others. Debbie Robotham. Oh, lots of people watching. Christine said, Marithelis, Victoria, Peter, Gita, Georgie, Eleanor, Alexandra. Oh, what a crowd, eh? Thank you very much for watching. Yeah, so this week's podcast is coming out tomorrow. It will be released at 7 o'clock UK time. It's Charlotte Sands, and she's a regular in the Lovefly Facebook group. And her story is really great, really down to earth, and some really nice little tips in there. So I hope you enjoy that one. We've got loads in the can and got a few lined up now. So Sarah Fowler, woohoo, has managed to find us an aircraft engineer as well. So he'll be on talking about that as well. So that's an extra one on top of all the others like the Concorde pilot, lots of other people's great stories. I'll tell you about that. So we've just got some amazing ones coming up. So yeah, really, really pleased. So thank you for coming forward. And also we do like your stories as well, because what I find and I particularly love, although I like the technical people, and I know you like the pilots and the technical things to come on, but personally, I really love the stories of people who are beating their fear of flying, because often I learn something and then if you share your tips and how you got to where you are, whether it's perfectly over it or whether you're still overcoming it, doesn't matter, because whatever you've got to say will be helpful to somebody. So please keep coming forward if you'd like to be on the podcast, and you can put a message in the chat below if you want to, or you can direct message us, and we'd love to get you on. So thank you very much for watching. Hope that's allayed the fears for a bit. I know that a lot of people will be thinking that another thing, because when we are fearful of flyers, we are looking for things to confirm why we shouldn't fly. But at the end of the day, it's all about safety, and it's no less safe. It's just, occasionally, exceptionally occasionally, something happens, gets investigated. And that's how we've got it safer and safer over the years. I say we, like I had anything to do with it. The whole industry is incredibly safe, and that's not changed. And my view of it hasn't changed. And we wouldn't be doing this if we thought that it wasn't. Living life is about managing risk, isn't it? And most of us just don't think about the risk when we go around. We get in and out the shower, or we put an electric socket in, or we cross a road, or we drive our cars, or we get in a coach. We don't think about the risk there, but there's risk everywhere. In the commercial aviation, of course, there's a risk, but it's a well-managed risk. And because we always got this thing where we have no single point of failure, and this process of thinking about what could go wrong, let's try and make sure it doesn't. Let's put lots of things in place to prevent that, lots of measures along the way so that we don't get these things. And that's why it's so rare for anything to happen. Because it's so rare, it's extremely sexy for the media. Ooh, look at this. It's basically you're dicing with death if you fly on one of these things. They love it, all that, don't they? Sells papers, sells airtime. So you have to be really circumspect about what you watch or listen to, because it's very, very attractive to make it seem like it's just like a flight of doom and it's just a matter of time. And look what these big, nasty airline companies are doing. They're not telling us stuff. It's a really attractive storyline or narrative, isn't it? But it doesn't mean that it's true. So thank you again for the questions. Thanks for tuning in. And look forward to speaking to you tomorrow in the podcast. Until then, take care. Don't know why I said ciao, but we're global,